Circle.
Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Todd's Pod. Today, I have a very special guest with me. She's a woman that I think is one of the stronger women I've met in recovery. She has overcome so much and maintained her sobriety all this time. She has 12 years, 11 years,
Uh, 2013.
12 years. Going on 12. You'll be 13 this year. Cool. So she has 12 years of sobriety. Um, Her name is Rosemary, and side note, she is my wife, so maybe I'm a little bit partial. But with her being my wife, I have watched this woman go through so much, so much, and I don't know that I could have maintained my sobriety through it all. But I'm going to let Rosemary tell you about Rosemary. So hi, Rosemary. I always do a hug. Oh no, I'm not a shaker. I'm a hugger. All right. Good morning.
I
And
should know
welcome.
that about you.
Yeah, and welcome. So there you go. Tell the world who you are.
Hi, I'm Rosemary. I'm an alcoholic, recovering alcoholic. My sobriety date is November the 3rd, 2013. And I'm Todd's wife. I'm the mother of 5 wonderful children. Um, and I just really want to be more active in my recovery.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So, what was Rosemary like as a child? Tell me what happened and brought you to where you're at.
Well, I had that mental twist that alcoholics have, and I saw that coming out even as a child. I think I had a mother that was really kind of judgmental, and so I always felt like there was something wrong with me. So, and that fed into my adulthood, and I think that drinking was a way that I could feel like there wasn't something wrong with me. When I was under the influence, I was able to talk and um, be that social butterfly and relate with people. And so, yeah, alcohol was just my magic elixir.
Yeah. Okay. You were a horse girl, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I had a horse all my years growing up, and that was my getaway. That was my
Escape.
yes.
Okay. All right. So then you, after, so what was the path you chose to leave your little country home? Where did you go after that?
Into the military.
Ah, there we go. Well, thank you for your service. And
You're welcome.
the VA is huge, isn't it?
Yes.
Their medical system is amazing, the things they've done. So,
Well, I look at all these little turns and in my life, and I just think God had such a hand in it, because if I hadn't done those 4 years in the Air Force, I wouldn't have the VA to support me with my medical condition.
do you want to share anything about that medical condition?
Sure, I have MS, and it's progressive, even though when they diagnosed me and put me on drugs, I have an infusion twice a year, and that's supposed to stop the progression, but it doesn't really work that way.
Okay.
Unfortunately for me, I lost the use of my legs. Now I'm losing the use of my right hand. Now I'm starting to feel it in my left hand a little bit. It's really scary.
Okay. But you maintained your sobriety throughout
Yes.
because when you got sober, you hadn't had this diagnosis yet.
Well, I was asked a question by a doctor. I was sharing a little bit about recovery with her, and she asked me, why did I get sober? What was the thing that prompted me? And honestly, like, I remember my last drunk. I guess alcoholics, especially recovered alcoholics, can all relate with that. Um, so I was literally crawling, because it seemed like when I drank, the MS symptoms, like, I hadn't even been diagnosed yet,
Right.
but I was already having problems controlling my muscles.
Okay.
And I was just thinking, oh my God, if I keep drinking and this keeps progressing, I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't want to know. I am going to be in a world of hurt. So honestly, that's what prompted me to quit drinking because I was having the initial symptoms of the MS, even though I didn't know what it was. And that doctor was like, well, in a way, MS saved your life. And I just see all these little twists and turns in my life, and I see how God's hand was holding me up, even though I wasn't, near the person I guess none of us are, to feel like I deserved God's hand holding me up. But it was. I see God's hand in so many things throughout my life.
Okay.
And if I hadn't been, and she was right, the MS did save my life in that respect.
Okay, so tell us about those early days. How did you get sober? Did you just did you quit and just never need anything after that, or what did you do to get sober?
Well, I had a fantastic sponsor.
Well, how did you find the sponsor?
I went to, I was trying different groups, and I was going because of my children, and I felt like I was trying to find a way to fix my children. And I had gone to one group that was in Universal City, and they were for people who have family members with mental disorders. And so I was talking to one woman, and we were kind of getting into deep conversation, and she found out about my drinking habit. Like, I disclosed that to her.
Okay.
And she was like, well, you need to fix yourself first. And she's like, you're not going to be able to fix any of your family, by the only way you're going to fix them is by example. So the best example that you can set is to, get clean, get off the alcohol, and start working on yourself.
Okay.
So that's what I did. Then the next group I went to was the Church Cibolo AA meeting. They're in
Shout out to Church Cibolo.
They're in Universal City. Oh, it was wonderful. There were so many wonderful people who went to this meeting, and that's how I found my sponsor. Like, I immediately felt, usually I feel apart from, but in this group, I immediately felt a part of. It's so awesome.
Cool.
And I felt like these are my peeps.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good. So that's another point you could say God has had in. He led you to that group.
Absolutely.
You found your peeps. Okay, so that was your AA was your path to recovery, and you got yourself a good sponsor. So I'm going to ask you a question that's probably a little deeper, a little more personal. It's something that I'm curious about. Okay.
Okay.
What was it like living with an active addict alcoholic when you were trying to be sober?
It was difficult. I'm just thankful for my program, and I was constantly in that big book.
Yes.
And I was constantly reading about like the family after, that talks a lot about what it's like when you get sober and you have a family member who's still using, and it talks about rebuilding your family. And I just stayed in that big book, and just some of the cliches that have become a part of my life, like live and let live, the third step prayer. I love the third step prayer. Relieve me of the bondage of self. I say that to myself 20 times a day in prayer. So yeah, I'm just thankful that I was deep into my program at that time.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to let you choose your own path, and because I was so into my own self-help and my own self-healing and, my own growth, that I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to you.
Well,
I do thank the Lord for that.
Yes, thank the Lord for that. I do remember you insisting that I come to dinner one night, and you had your sponsor over because you wanted me to meet your sponsor, and I didn't know what a 12-step call was. I had no clue, right? And so to let everybody know, we were having this dinner, and I believe, if I'm correct, I had a Circle K fountain soda that I drank with dinner, and and Ray was her sponsor's name, and she was been in a podcast of mine previously, but they were telling me about this program, and I listened for a little bit, but I want to know what your thought was the minute I said, I appreciate y'all talking to me about this and everything. I don't need your program. I got Todd's program and it's working great for me. What was your reaction to that? What did you think?
Just more of the same.
Yeah.
Just more of the same. Typical Todd.
Yeah.
That was you back then. Like, you had all the answers.
I did, and it worked out very well. I ended up even further down the road than that. But it's funny because I remember the first time I spoke with Ray on the phone. We were talking and we were laughing. I said, Ray, and she smiled. I said, guess what? And she smiled. Todd's program ain't worth a damn. I said, I'm working your program now. I just remember she was real happy about that. So we've walked a long journey
and
together.
Going back to what that woman told me in the first meeting I went to that kind of sparked the interest in AA, and she's like, the best thing you can do is set an example.
And you did. It would be 3 years before I got sober. And I appreciate you hanging in there through those times because I know we've been through a lot with our children. We don't want to go into detail about all that, but with our children, with our lives, with our families, we both lost people, a lot of people in recovery especially, but we seem to persevere through it all. And I think you're a perfect example of what recovery should look like.
Well, I do feel like I need to be more active in my recovery.
I think we all feel that way. I got a guy that goes to 5 meetings a day for 10 years, but I said, I could be just a little bit more active in my recovery.
Well, it's hard for me in this chair.
I understand.
And I get really tired, and I get tongue-tied, and I have brain fog, and then I have, personal issues that I still haven't worked out. Like, I was talking to Jessica earlier about it's so hard for me to be vulnerable.
Right.
It's so hard for me to open up and put myself out there. Yeah. And I need to work on that because it's not for myself that I'm doing it, but it's for the others who might benefit from me being open and putting myself out there.
I think another way that God's had his hand in it with you is he has recently, we're going to probably have a couple of groups, right? A recovery place, an opportunity recovery group is now 2 blocks from your house. And who would have ever dreamed that you would have a meeting place that's 2 blocks from your house? That is amazing.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes, because it's like right there, so it's not as difficult for you to navigate. And I'm really, yes, thank you, Lord, for that, because he has paved a way for you to be more active in your recovery, and I'm real happy about that. You're a definite benefit to any group I've been in with you. So tell me about your journey through these years of navigating, if you don't mind my saying, navigating recovery, mental health, and physical health. I mean, is it? And it's an ongoing thing. Has it? Yeah.
It's been a struggle. Yeah.
So, but you work on all 3, correct?
Yes. Correct.
What does that look like?
Well, I have a therapist that I talk to a couple of times a month, and she is fantastic. And I can really open up to her, and she gives me really good advice and really good guidance. And then, I have the 12 steps, I have my higher power, and I really want to grow on spiritual lines, continue to grow on spiritual lines. I feel like I've grown a lot, but I definitely have a lot more to go. of a group that I want to start
What is
here
it
at
called?
Recovery.
What would you like that to be like?
Adult children of alcoholics.
And that's going to be an opportunity recovery group?
Yes.
It's going to be one of those?
Yes, I just need to make the phone calls and coordinate getting somebody from that group here.
Okay, well, y'all hear that out there, right? And I'm going to do another shameless plug. That is at 11622 El Sendero, San Antonio, Texas, 78233 for anybody that would like to attend. We have many groups that start here. So sorry, I just had to throw that plug out there, because if you're going to start a group, people need to know where it's at.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea, because really, adult children of alcoholics, I bet if I had to put a number, 80% of the people that are in the rooms are probably adult children of alcoholics or addicts. You know, it's not just, you know, I believe alcohol is a drug, so it kind of all throws in there together. So I think that's a great idea, because this part of San Antonio needs more support, more groups.
Absolutely.
And, so anybody out there that's a part of that group who might want to help Rosemary start a group like that, reach out.
Absolutely. I would love all the support and help. And anybody who's, you know, feels a nudge in their spirit that that's what they want to do, get in touch with me. Come on down to Opportunity Recovery Group and let's get it going.
Or they can go to opportunityrecoverygroup.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, put their information and their interest in, and then you can reach back out to them that way also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, quick question. So, adult children of alcoholics, let's just say that Ms. Brown up the road, right? She's not an adult child of an alcoholic, but she is an alcoholic, and she can see that her, you know, children might be she might be worried about them a little bit. Would she be welcome in that group, even though she's not a child of an alcoholic?
Yeah, because I'm not a child of an alcoholic. Okay. I feel that my mother probably had some mental challenges herself, which of course went untreated for years and years.
Okay.
And I just recently, I never saw my parents take a drink, but I just recently learned from you that they did have their battles with alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess before I was old enough to really see that. Or
yeah, I think your dad did a similar kind of a, maybe not a 12-step call on me, but kind of a come to Jesus moment with me. He told me a little bit about his past, and I was like, of course I wasn't ready to get sober yet. You know, you can, if somebody's not ready, they're not ready. You know.
But my parents did not have a program. And no. I feel like all the years when they were raising me, they were dry drunks.
Well, I think they filled their life with a lot. You know, I think they were able to fill those gaps in. You know, I don't think they were the white knuckling, crunching dry drunks, but I think that, yeah, I agree. But some people are, you know, everybody finds their own path to recovery. It doesn't have to be 12 steps. It doesn't have to be this, or it doesn't have to be that. I think if somebody gets sober and lives a good quality life, that's a perfect example of recovery, really. It doesn't have to be my way, your way, the audience's way. You know, it can be anybody's own path. It's interesting. I've spoken with people recently that had gotten sober, did the medically assisted treatment path, but since then they've tapered out of that, so they're not on any substances, use no mind-altering substances. And the discussion went along the lines of, you know, now that I've looked back at it, they actually worked all those 12 steps without ever doing a 12-step program. They pretty much did all that stuff that you do. So I think it's kind of funny that I see that a lot with people that don't use the 12 steps, but yet they don't realize that they actually did 12 steps or close to it anyway. So that's kind of funny. Okay, so to ask you another question, what about your sibling? Does your sibling have any issues like that? Is it a family thing, or was it just you? Well, you talked about your parents, so let's talk about your other.
My brother and I are pretty much estranged.
Okay.
His wife was kind of judgmental towards me, and I think that kind of led to, you know, like what do I want to say?
A wall between.
A wall between me and my brother,
okay.
exactly.
Well,
yeah, I haven't talked to him. I talked to him, I guess maybe like a year ago. I was just checking on my mom and she wasn't answering the phone.
Okay.
But my brother's a very sweet person. He retired from the police force, so that was also a wedge in between us because when he was a police officer, I was a drunk and a drug user. I was smoking pot pretty regular. I was getting wasted pretty regular. And he saw that, me and my kids, and he did not respect that, which I don't blame him. Um, but that was just another kind of wedge. Because there's probably a lot of stuff he could have arrested me for
Right.
that he chose to turn a blind eye.
Okay. All right. Um, wow, that just threw another question into my mind. If he would have arrested you, do you think it would have made a difference?
Probably it might have hastened my recovery.
I was speaking with a police officer the other day, and you think that when you get arrested, especially if you're heavy in your addiction or your alcoholism, it's like this is going to stop my ability to make myself feel different.
Right.
This is going to stop my ability to self-medicate myself because I don't want to live in this world that I live in, and you're going to put me somewhere where I can't get what I need, right? And that's the initial response to that moment. But I was talking to him, and I told him, I said, I look back on my last arrest as probably the greatest day of my life because it allowed me the opportunity to maybe change, and it did. So I encouraged him, and I told him to encourage all of your other cops and all your friends that, when you see somebody and they're an alcoholic or they're an addict and they are and you've dealt with them 10 times, don't stop dealing with them. If you have to arrest them because you know what? If they hadn't done their job that day, I'd probably be dead. Honestly, you know that. I mean, I don't,
Right.
Yeah, because I was definitely heading down that road fast, and in my own way, doing it on purpose.
Oh yeah, I
Definitely,
kinda.
yeah, you were there, so.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I try to encourage any police officers, anybody in security, anybody out there that's watching, sometimes it seems like it's futile that, oh my God, I've dealt with this guy so many times that he's never going to get it. I'm just going to drive him on, and that's not the answer. The answer is to go ahead and stop, engage whatever. If you have to arrest them, right? That's what we do because I was listening. I forget what I was listening to. I think it was last night in group. It was a movie that we watched, but to step over, if in my addiction, if they would have stepped over me, they would have not only stepped over me or stepped on me, basically, they would have stepped on my wife, my kids, my grandkids, my extended family. So when you walk over that individual, you're not just, and that goes for everybody. When you walk past that addict alcoholic and you don't try to help or you don't try to do your program, you're stepping on their entire family. And I can speak from an eye standpoint that you were talking about the lady when you first went to those groups said that you have to live an example if you want your family to change. Well, you and I both know by living that example, we have seen our children change and become better people.
She also talked to me about snowballs and how they get bigger as they roll. And if you can think of that snowball starting out as yourself, and then as it rolls down, your family members are added, and it just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
That's still true. I mean,
it is. I this old saying that somebody told me one time, and it was when I was first in treatment. I think one of the counselors or somebody, and I'm like, screw you, that ain't true. And it was the family, what the father does, the family follows. And I'm like, oh hell no, because I was not going to be responsible for these kids, what they've become, right? And so I wouldn't accept that. I thought, no, they're their own people. They make their own decisions in life, and blah 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 blah, right? Well, now, if you ask me that, I will tell you that is a very, very true statement because I never ever told my family, anybody in my family, hey, you got to quit this or you got to quit that, you got to get clean, you got to this, I never did that. I never did. I just did me, and I see my family change before my eyes. I read my divorce papers when I went into treatment, and so I thought, okay, well, my kids don't want me, my wife don't want me. Well, this is just so. So I really got into recovery for me because nobody else wanted anything to do with it whatsoever.
That
And
was
I can't.
the last house on the.
Yeah, that was it, man. And but lo and behold, we're still together. We've been together.
And when you were talking about the police officers,
Yeah,
not stepping over you, it reminded me of PDAP. When we were in PDAP, and people would come in absolutely devastated, crying, and not sure how to handle the situation because their child had gone to jail. And it was like all the people in PDAP would be like, "Oh, that's wonderful."
so now you're gonna have to tell us, well, what is PDAP? I know it, but she's gonna tell us.
Oh, it's for, I don't think it exists anymore.
It does in different forms.
In different forms, but it's for parents of kids who are using or drinking, and it kind of helps us to not be a trigger, so to speak.
You were sober when you went there, right?
Kinda, sorta.
Kind of, sort of, because I remember I was deep in my addiction when I went there. I was high and drunk every meeting. I'm like, how do I get my kids off drugs? yeah.
I think the first time I went, no, I was sober. I
think
was sober.
you were. And the thing about it, like, one of my things now is that, we're not really, we can't change anything, right? But we can damn sure plant a seed. And I think that between you and your sponsor and PDAP, I was doing these things, and I went to PDAP strictly to find out how to get my kids off drugs. Not me.
Right.
Not me. I'm good. I got a talks program at that point. I still had, right? But the seeds that were planted there in me, right? The seed that was planted the night you and your sponsor talked to me, taught me that I understand that no matter, you and your sponsor could have talked to me for 10 hours that night. It would not have made a difference.
I know.
Right? And same with PDAP.
Well, we have to learn that we can only plant the seed. We can't make it grow. Only God can make it grow.
Hard lesson to learn. Hard lesson to learn, because we do try to fix things all the time, and we have to understand it's not our job to fix. But it is my job to go around and plant as many seeds as I can, because I guarantee you, if you plant that seed, it's there. I'll never forget the things I learned at Palmer Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center.
So what is PDAP now, just in case?
So, you have Recovery Works in New Roswell, so it's Recovery Works, WERK.
Right.
And Debbie and Joanne. Joanne
was my counselor at PDAP.
Right, so they come out of PDAP.
Debbie was a good friend of PDAP.
Yeah. And then Rise Recovery is not PDAP, but they're kind of along those same lines. But speaking about that, Caitlin, I can throw her name out there if I can. Sorry, Caitlin. But anyway, Caitlin and I are talking about trying to form a type of a PDAP group here at this location, Opportunity Recovery Group, or ARP. It's all one big location. So we are talking about trying to start a group like that.
Would that be for the kids or the parents?
Both.
Or both?
Both. We're kind of
Wonderful.
we're trying to kind of plan it out to kind of dovetail along with what PDAP
and you might check with Trish. I've heard that
Trish is already involved in all that.
Oh wow!
So Caitlin, so Caitlin is a PDAP baby.
Alumni.
Well, yeah, because they were kids when they got sober, right? And so is another member of our board come out of Rise or PDAP, and it's I'm meeting more and more people that have been sober since they were young, and they did it through that program. That's a fantastic program, and
it sure helped me with learning how to deal with my addict children, and just learning to keep my sanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's a great. I think all recovery programs are great in their own way. I mean, I may not agree with all of them, but I've been to most all of them. And I do agree with all of them because they all basically help people get sober. So I don't have any disagreements with any of them. I may not practice some of the stuff they do all the time, but I try to incorporate a little bit of all that into my life. Um, so yeah, there's another thing. I didn't even think about the fact that we're going to be trying to do something along the line, PADAP lines here until
That
we
would
started
be
talking about it.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. So do you ever talk to Debbie or Joanne or any of those people from PADAP before?
Do I still talk to them?
Yeah.
Not since we went to their deal at Easter. Um, but you know, they're all busy. We're all busy, but we all know we're there for each other.
Right, right. So you have reconnected with Joanne.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And they have a wonderful outfit there in New
They
York.
do. They do. It's really, really cool. And they went from a little bitty house to where
Yes.
they're at now. Yes.
I remember that first little place they had. It was so cozy,
Yes.
but it just didn't accommodate the growth that they had.
Right. But now they have a great place. It's really cool. I don't know the address,
And
Debbie,
it's
or I would plug it.
beautiful. And it's so comfortable.
It is. It's very comforting. Very, very, if you have youth or if you're doing, even they have what they call the older group. And I think that's for people that are not children anymore, not young, not youth, which I'm still a youth, so I would still get to go to the younger group. But for those of you that might not be youth, they do have an older group that you can go to. Yeah, I'm young at heart. So yeah, it's funny because some of the things that I do now, you'll give me a bit of a time about it. Why are you acting like that? And I'm like, well, I spent most of my life high
You're
drugs.
still
So
a kiddo.
technically, I'm only about 19 years old right now.
Right, because they say you start.
Remember last year when I was 16, boy, was that something, So but the thing is that's part of the self-awareness, right? If we can understand, say, okay, I've been getting high and drunk. Well, I started drinking at 9 and drugs at 12, so my entire
And you
life.
stop maturing.
You at some point you stop that maturing, so that when you do
When you're
get sober
using
and you wonder, well, why am I acting like a kid? Well, because you're kind of there.
you're mentally, however old you were when you
Exactly.
started.
They say that you're about as old as you were when you started drinking and stuff. And so I have, but the thing is that through meetings, programs, counseling, all these things that we do in our recovery, we learn that, okay, now I know why I make some of these mistakes that my kids made 10 years ago. I understand why, because it's part of that process, but it's really cool to be able to grow in such a way. And I do, again, I thank you for allowing me that. You could definitely try to have your will and say you can't do that. But you kind of allow me to have my own way and learn as I go, and I appreciate
live
it.
and let live.
Yeah, there are a couple of things, but credit cards were an interesting lesson for me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but anyway.
The day I found out he had stolen my credit card.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about after sobriety, but no, go ahead. You start. The day you found out I stole your credit card, I didn't steal it. I borrowed it, by the way.
Well, I almost lost my job because of my reaction. I was on the computer checking my balance. And I screamed. I literally screamed. And everybody in the office turned to stare at me. They thought I was having some kind of psychotic break. Yeah, and I got talked to by management and told that I owed the whole office an apology for my outburst.
Well, so I helped you grow professionally, I guess is what you're saying.
Well, you almost caused me to lose my job over it.
Well, that was yes, definitely, and I think that the mistakes that we make in our addiction and everything, that's not the only thing.
I was working so hard at that time to handle my debt and handle my living expenses.
Yeah.
That just to see that balance that you had put there, it was horrifying to me.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I've made amends for all that.
Yes, you have. You're making living amends right now.
That's my wife telling me I can't stop. I got to keep doing, which is good. I need accountability.
Right.
We need accountability in our lives. But yes, I am. I believe
Never stop. Don't stop at all.
Making a living amends throughout my life, every day of my life, for the rest of my life, because that's what I do. And I I hope to always be able to do that for you, my children, for others in recovery. That's I mean, yeah, and it's so, if I could give any advice at all, I mean, they tell you that when you get this program, when you get recovery, if you don't give it away, you're going to lose it. It's so true, but the feeling you get when you give it away,
Yeah.
the feeling you get when you, so I was talking to a guy the other day and he was like, he's not as outspoken as I am because I'll tell everyone, I'll walk up to a stranger and say, hey, guess what? I'll tell them all about me. Because I want to find a way to make community awareness because I asked these people, I said, okay, so if your neighbor comes to you and says, hey, my son's struggling with drugs or alcohol, what are you going to tell your neighbor? And 95% of the people, So I give them a little short, brief education on what they can tell their neighbor. And I said, so now you know from now on. And I do it in such a way because really,
Can I ask what that advice would be?
Well, basically, when somebody comes to you and asks you that, you basically have your local detoxes, you have your local treatment centers. You can get onto different websites and find information. But instead of just saying, I don't know, well, we have detox. There's treatment, there's meetings, there's whatever their problem is, there's ways.
So you give them
there's support.
tangible.
I give them tangible thoughts on support, on where they can find this so that they can tell their neighbor. And what I don't tell them is I'm probably telling them not necessarily for their neighbors as much as for themselves because you never know what the children are going to do, right? But you don't want to walk up to somebody and say, hey, guess what? Your kids might end up drunk alcoholics. So here's what you need to do. So I come at it from an angle of, hey, if your neighbor comes to you, that way it's not personal to them. And then at the end of the conversation, I've never had anybody say, I'll never get mad. They've always told me, thank you for that information because it's empowering to know, hey, this is a way that I can help people because that's what we want to do. So in our recovery, when we give it away, that's how we keep it, right? And the feeling of hearing somebody say, thank you for that information or having somebody come to you 2 years later and say, if you hadn't talked to me when I was sitting out there on the curb drunk and everything, I wouldn't have got sober and I just celebrated 2 years. And if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't be here. And the thing is, if you're working a good program of recovery, I believe you're going to go, oh, okay. And not even remember what you said. Not remember what you said to this individual because it's not really about that, right?
It was just that seed that you planted that God made
but,
it grow.
Right. And so you don't necessarily
Other people
remember.
came along and watered it. And
what you said or done, but I don't tell people. I go, I don't have any clue, because I'm like, oh yeah, because I don't want them to know that I forgot. But I don't. That's not a metric that I measure, right? I mean, I don't care, and I'm all about. I do care about how people do in their recovery and stuff. But what I mean is that. Mr. Brown down the road, right? He's having a problem. He's drunk and everything. And somebody asked me, so I talked to Mr. Brown. I just plant a seed, right?
Right.
And then when I'm done planting that seed, I go on about my life and go plant more seeds.
God will send other people.
And God does that. And God does that. It's not me. And I'm quick to tell people, hey, you did this, you got recovered, and God did that through you, or whatever your conception of God is, because it's a higher power conception, and I choose to call God, right? I'm a Jesus freak, but I couldn't tell you what he looks like, and I couldn't tell you where he lives. I have no clue. So can I define what my God is or what my God looks like? Probably not, but I know he's all encompassing and he's everything. Everything to me, my God, my higher power is everything. So, no matter what you call your higher power, in a roundabout way, you're talking about my God because my God's everything. So, and that's how I reconcile those things. But yeah, the seeds we plant, or that's where the rubber hits the road, right? And we have to plant the seed and move on. But the feeling we get, say for instance, when we get into sponsorship, when you start sponsoring people, and there's going to be some that don't make it, but you can't let that stop you because you already planted the seed. Even though they didn't make it this time, I guarantee you they won't forget the seeds that you planted. So you continue to do that, and you continue to help more sponsees. You keep moving down this road of recovery, And before you know it, you have grand sponsees, you know,
Right.
because your sponsees are out there sponsoring people, and then they're sponsoring people, and it's like, and it's such a, you know, if you help one person, they help two people, they help two people, and before you know it, that's multiplied to such a multitude. And it's all about, that's what it's about, is spreading the word and letting people know what recovery is, what it looks like. My life may not be perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what it was.
You help two people, they help two people.
Exactly. And you know, I wish there was a way. I had this idea one time that I wanted to go around to every single church in San Antonio just so I could tell people what they could tell their neighbor. You know, really, seriously. And I had that thought, and it's still there, but I don't know what that looks like or how to go about doing that. You know, I wish that I could just tell everybody in the world, hey, you can do this, or you can tell somebody this.
Yeah, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Exactly.
I'm walking, talking, breathing, true.
True miracle. Miracles.
Yeah,
we were all miracles.
Proof that this does work. We do recover.
Yeah. You know, I think back on when on January 25th, 2018, when I decided it was done, because my wife didn't want me anymore. My kids wouldn't talk to me anymore. I couldn't see my grandkids if I wanted to. I was that big of a mess, and I decided that I did what God wanted. I raised my kids. I'm done. You know, and I attempted to take my own life. Rather close. Actually, I think I was dead for a little bit. But anyway.
You might have been, because they hit you with that Narcan pretty hard.
Quite a few times, right? Yeah. But anyway, but my point of that is that, you know, when family members, they have a family member that attempts to commit suicide. The thing that struck out to me the most now looking back is that I never really thought about you. I never really thought about my kids. I never really thought about my grandkids. It was all about me. It was a selfish pity party me.
You know, suicide is selfish.
But the ripple effect that I would have had if I would have been successful is I would have given permission to every member of my family, extended and beyond, to kill yourself. Because look what Papa did. Look what Todd did. He did it. I can do it. God.
Yeah, that would have been the legacy that you would have.
That would have been my legacy that I left, right?
But now instead,
God had other plans.
Yes, He did, and I am so glad that instinctively I knew to break that door down.
Yeah, thank God. Yes. So, and the thing is that so now, instead of, so I have a saying. I'm trying to think of what it says word for word, but it's like, you know, we're all rocks in a pond, right? Do you want your wave to be a hurricane, or do you want your wave to be a pleasant? Do you want your wave to be a pleasant, nice little wave, right? Because if I would have been successful, my wave would have been a hurricane. It would have destroyed everyone around me and my whole family. I never thought about that. But now I'm a pleasant wave, I think. You know, and so you know, yeah, it's so you know, when you wonder why your loved one tries to do something like that, it's not because they were thinking, oh, I'm going to do this to you. You know, it's
right,
just not. They're definitely in a very bad place, and they definitely haven't thought about what the long term ramifications would be. And unfortunately,
well, it's just amazing that, you know, this is the plan that God had for you, and I see all of your personality traits, all of your gifts, you know, your compassion, your ability to talk to people, your openness. You know, all these gifts from God were for this time, for this moment in time. You know, when opportunity is getting off the ground, you're instrumental in so many ways of furthering recovery and.
Well, I just do the next thing in front of me. Just
making recovery available.
I just share resources. Oh, anyway, yeah, there I am trying to shoot myself down again, aren't I? But anyway, without your example of what recovery is, without other people's example of what recovery is, I wouldn't know. You know, I couldn't do what I do. But another thing too that I want to touch on before we go is that, you know, a lot of people, they look at their past and they think that they've had this terrible life, which, yes, I had a hard life. I went through a lot of things. But with the full understanding that one thing I learned in my recovery is that if I hadn't experienced every single day, including January 25th, that there's no way possible I could do what I do today.
Right.
So I think that, you know, God didn't punish me in my lifetime for a lifetime of all the stuff I went through, right? That was like my college, like my education. My learned everything, all the tragedies that I've been through, all the things that have happened to me, and all these things I had to experience. You know, some people are like, "Well, how could you, you know, how could I love God after all that?" Well, I love God after all that because now it makes sense. I understand.
Right.
And so it puts me in a position to where I can talk to people about
Yeah, Jessica and I were just talking about how judgmental people, whether it be family members or not, they, you know, it's amazing that they don't see that the what you have to go through as an addict, alcoholic, or whatever your addiction may be, and then you come out the other side and you can help so many people with your story. Like everything that happened to you, you're sharing it with someone who needs to hear that.
Right.
And why can't judgmental people see that when we get sober, we help so many other people recover?
Well, I think the word judgmental has something to do with that.
Yeah.
But the
Because
thing is,
they are
so
judgmental.
so the point of it all, I think, is that God does not put us through something we won't survive. The day I came out of the womb, God said, "You know, Todd, you're going to survive this." I didn't think I would. Many times in life, I thought, you know, it was hard. But God knew. God knew I could survive this. And by doing so, then I can turn around and take my experience, strength, and hope and help others. So, if
Just like with your suicide attempt.
that's what I'm talking about. God, yes, He knew. He knew. You already know that. You know, He knew I wasn't going to be successful, and He knew the impact that it would have on everybody around me. And thank God, like I say, about 2 weeks later is when I got arrested. And if I hadn't been arrested, I know for a fact I'd be dead. Kids.
And I'm glad I didn't took it out because I knew that you getting arrested was a really good thing.
My kids wouldn't bail me out of jail. It was so simple to get me out of jail. I'd cuss them on the phone, you know, they're like, and I'd be raising hell with them, and I'd get me out of jail. It's so simple. You're so stupid. You can't get me out of jail.
I'm
Right?
so proud of them.
And so this old guy behind me told me one day, he said, "Dude," he said, "you know, you keep cussing your kids out every time you get on that phone." He said, "They're not going to get you out of jail." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you told me you were suicidal." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, they're not going to get you out of jail. You can't hurt yourself in here. You're in the safest place you could be." And it clicked. I thought, crap, he's right. So then I started having better phone calls with my kids. I didn't cuss them out all the time because I understood why. But, you know, all this to lead to the fact that recovery is fun. Life is great.
We are not a glum lot.
No, we are not. And no matter where you're at either in your addiction, in your alcoholism, in your mental health, no matter how far you think you've gone, that you think, "Oh, I'm unredeemable," believe me when I say I was unredeemable. Okay, I was unredeemable. There was not a redeeming quality in me prior to recovery.
And we also have to examine ourselves and make sure that we're not using that pride in reverse thing.
Oh, pride, ego's a tough one to.
Well, you know, you get the pride in reverse,
Yeah.
where you don't think you're God's gift, you think you're the opposite. You think you're like the lowest of the low, and
Well, of
no one
course.
could be lower.
Right.
But that's pride in reverse.
Well, I have a thing, a T-shirt. I think it says, you know, that God had to break me down before He could lift me up. And when the people are at their lowest of their lows, I think that's what we call rock bottom. They get to rock bottom, and they have to get to rock bottom in order to come up and become who they can be. You know, but yes, and yeah, anybody.
Well, that last drug was my rock bottom.
Well, I tell you, man, I thought that woman's going to die if she don't get sober if I'm drinking.
I know, right?
Yeah. I remember that. I do remember that last one.
And I was taking stuff to make me sleep at night, and that's so dangerous.
Yeah.
I was getting drunk and I was taking stuff to make me sleep and getting drunk. And I'm just lucky I survived it all.
Well, I'm glad that you did. Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap up. You got a few. Tell the world what you want the world to know.
We do recover, and recovery is a gift that keeps on giving.
Cool. And so stay tuned next week, 10 a.m. Saturday. I'll have another Todd's Pod. I'm not sure who's going to be the guest next week, but I really enjoyed having Rosemary. I think that we should get together and do this more often. I think we did really.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the conversation with you. It's rather enlightening about some things, and so thank you very much for taking the time for that. And also remember, Opportunity Recovery Group and A Recovery Place is at their new location, 11622 El Sendero, San Antonio, Texas, 78233. If you don't live here, if you come here for vacation, come see us, okay? Y'all have a great day. Thank you.